Welcome to Can Angels Fly Tarot. I'm Nancy, and today I am creating a Aquarius rambling rant for October 2018. It is not even October yet. However, this Aquarius rambling rant is for October. Let me share what's on my heart. Yesterday, I watched a particular series. The series is called American Horror Story. Now, personally, I don't watch a lot of TV or various programs, but occasionally I get in the mood. And so, in the past, I liked American Horror Story. It was very entertaining. I also liked what was the other one? Oh, I can't think of it. Altered Carbon, 4400. There's a few other series that I really enjoyed. I liked The Purge, or there's The Purge, the first Purge or The Purge, the second one, the election year. I'm a person that I like 2012, The Day After Tomorrow. Yes, all of those kind of conspiracy-based films or entertainment. I liked Black Mirror. Yeah, those things. And yesterday, as I binged watched season 7 of American Horror Story, I really reflected upon how I like those or prefer those particular type of entertainment. The conspiracy based, end of the world, social structure, kind of consequences or things like that. And I realized that I came to like those particular type of movies, like Left Behind, Left Behind, the Da Vinci Code, because all of my studies over the course of my life have shown those very themes or conspiracies to me. Let me see if I can separate it, because that's the important part here, is to separate it. My interests in that particular or those particular type of films or entertainment are not what created my mindset, my mental filter. No. My mental filter was set or programmed before me watching any of those movies. My mental filter was established or created through my various life experiences. I always share that here on YouTube. Life experiences, my personal life experiences. From money, the money in my life, finances in my life, career in my life, education, my life, my love life, and those that I have been intimately connected with. My mental filter was created through those experiences, through family, and the various experiences I had in relationship to family members or people in the community. My mental filter also has been constructed of my religious beliefs and practices, especially when talking about religion, relative to being born in a particular demographic area as a Black person, the traditional religious aspect where you're born into a particular set of beliefs. This or those things I would help to create my mental filter. long before the movies and programming. I'm going somewhere with this. Remember, this is an Aquarius rambling rant. I got something on my heart, and I'm just sharing. What also helped to create my mental filter, I don't know if I said it or not, but it's my education. Everything from as far back as I can remember in preschool, or even what it was, nursery school. I remember back in nursery school, preschool, middle school, all the way through up into higher education, has all contributed to how I see the world and how I process what information I've received. Now, those are just some of the basics. You know, life is complicated, so it's much, much more. I have shared here on YouTube that I have been, personally, in my life, a scientific lab rat. I never go into it in detail because that's really, really a tender spot. I'm the one that has fallen through the cracks of the system. I have personally did this quote, lived and learned the hard way. I share that a lot here on YouTube too. And I don't share or say that I've lived and learned the hard way for sympathy. I share it in order to try to get the viewer to understand all of my work here on my channel, on my platform, is coming from an experience place. This is me, my life. And how can it be perceived as a conspiracy when I literally lived it? Literally. And I know it sounds like I'm rambling. This is an Aquarius rambling rant, but I'm going somewhere with this. As mentioned last night, I binge watched the whole 7th season of American Horror Story. And it was exhilarating, and it was, it confirmed a lot of things that I've shared here on YouTube. I've shared here on YouTube that it seems that everything that I have experienced was a puzzle piece that helped tell the story of why humanity exists and where we're heading. I got that understanding through what? My personal life experience. My personal life experience has affected me on a deep emotional and psychological level. We talk about that place here on YouTube. Now I want to share a quote. I'm going somewhere with it, if you can just be patient. And the quote is, "Art is an imitation of life." Yes. Art is an imitation of life, or an interpretation of life. And I bring that quote up relative to my experience of watching American Horror Story Season 7, Episode 1 through 11. I binged watched it. Why is that so important, and why has it sparked this Aquarius rambling rant? Because that American Horror Story series showed me once again that humanity, we all, I don't care where we stand, I don't care what religion we are, I don't care what race, nationality, I don't care what you got going on, I don't care if you were abused, misused, lied on, murdered, resurrected, I don't care. We all have received pieces to the puzzle that explains our existence and the potential we have here in this world. That is to say, where we're headed. And once again, it is revealed to me, it was revealed to me, in that American Horror Story series. The American Horror Story series that I'm talking about, it covered everything I've ever talked about on this channel and things that I have been reluctant to talk about. Art is an imitation of life or an interpretation of life. American Horror Story is a, what do you call it, a TV series, I guess a cable or something TV series. I personally saw it on Netflix. And so between series number 1 or episode number 1 and 11, it covered these themes. Well, let me give you the titles. These are YouTube, don't start no stuff. These are the titles to the various episodes in season 7 of American Horror Story. 1, election year. And it started with the election of our current president. And went on to season 2. It says, don't be afraid of the dark. 3, neighbors from hell. 4, 11, 9. Interesting play. 5, holes. H-O-L-E-S. 6, and I'm going to say what holes was about. If I recall right, holes was about disposing of things that you don't really want in your life. You know, rather than being brave enough to break free and, you know, have a deep discussion about something might not be working for you. You know, and saying, okay, I need to make a change because I'm completely unhappy. No, it's like eradicate and get rid of whatever you don't like in your life. Why? Because it's causing you discomfort. It's causing you hurt. And one of the major themes that ran through series 7, it was like, it's never, ever your fault. It's always somebody else's fault. Make them pay. It was deep. And I bring that up because if you follow my channel, I often talk about how the astrological alignments have talked about how selfish and self-focused and narcissistic we are. Even in this season 7, they talk about it, and they talk about it in detail. I do recommend that if you can access American Horror Story season 7 and watch the whole thing, just get you some popcorn and soda or water, whatever you do, and binge watch episode 1 through 11. You can see the story told again. And this is just one. It's just like they compressed the whole story of our existence, the blueprint of where we are and where we are as of now and where we're headed. They compressed it. And I even find it interesting that the creators of American Horror Story, named the very first episode election year. Because when I saw that title, I immediately thought about The Purge. I don't know if the writers are the same or if they have anything to do with each other. But it almost seems like this episode of American Horror Story that starts with episode number 1 as election year. This season could end by going right into the movie The Purge, number 2, election year. But I digress. This is an Aquarius rambling rant, and so I'm just sharing where I am, you know, mentally and emotionally at this point in time. I'm happy. I was happy to see this because, again, I don't know any of these people. I don't think I've ever rubbed elbows with them. Them who? The creators of this American Horror Story series. But yet they got the exact same story. Art is an interpretation of life. The exact same story. When I browse through YouTube, it's the same story. When I look at religion, various religions, it's the same story. It's just being told from another's perspective. Anywho, let me finish reading off the various episodes to season 7 of American Horror Story. And I left off with the 5th one being Holes, H-O-L-E-S. The next is Midwestern Assassin. The next is Valerie. Oh, Kitty Solars died for. And then Winter of Our Discontent. Winter of Our Discontent. Oh, I missed that title. Winter of Our Discontent. I gotta go back and watch that. Colt, Drink the Kool-Aid. Colt, Charles Manson. And finally, Great Again. Great Again. So, American Horror Story starts with 1, ends with 11. 1 saying election year. The 11th and final episode is Great Again. Sounds familiar. It does. What am I saying thus far? I'm saying the same story, the same blueprint that I have come to understand, to see, and to know wholeheartedly. I was able to gain in the course of my life due to my experience, not from entertainment, not from programming. It wasn't from any mundane, okey-doke, superficial things. This was me living life. This was me trying to get a higher education. This was me going to the church to visit God in various religious institutions. This was me going after money and a career and trying to love and have my family and so much more. That I've learned these same things that were depicted, imitated in this particular series of American Horror Story. Now, I was just writing notes because I was just blown back once again. I'm like, it's here. I've heard, I don't know it to be true, but it seems like it is, that there are people, I would say, there are people here on YouTube, and their platform is about decoding various programs and movies and things like that. And they that have those particular type of platforms swear that the higher ups or the people in power are required to what do they call it, disclosure, but they're doing it in an indirect manner. They're letting us know in an indirect manner. If you can't see it yourself, if you can't stomach what you see, if you don't have enough comprehension, we're going to make sure that you know. But people, humanity, we don't pay attention. We don't take it seriously. It's art. It's entertainment. But yesterday, one more time it happened to me. Yesterday, I found a program, a series that told the whole story that my channel is breaking down bit at a time. And, oh, I forgot to look something up. But I'm going to just let that go for right now. Now, some of the things that the American Horror Story season 7 talked about. Now, I told the whole story, just bits and pieces. Because, you know, most of us have a problem seeing the whole picture. So we need to zoom in on small parts and use our cognitive skills to see the bigger picture. And so the American Horror Story is no different from my channel in that way, showing the various small pieces or clues to the overall experience that we're having, the blueprints, the reasons why we exist, and the potential that we have as beings here in this physical realm. That is to say, where we are headed. And I hope I don't remember to forget to say it. Let's see. I'm gonna just throw this out here because I have it written. Like I said, I was just kind of scribbling notes as I was watching the series because it was just sparking so much in me, and it was just heavy. It was overwhelming. It was deep. It was confirmative. All those kind of things. Very kind of what it was entertaining as well as emotional to see that we all know. We all know. The filmmakers know. It was another film I bought up. It was called John Malkovich, I think, and that was about an economic collapse. That's one of the possibilities that we have setting before us, or at 4400, and that is the recovery of humanity through divine superpowers. These are the possibilities that we have before us. It's up to us to choose which path we follow. And again, keep it separate. That all that I speak of comes directly from my personal life experience. All of the programming and the movies and various confirming elements were later. My interest existed for those things because I already had the foundation. See, I've lived this. For me, these things that I'll be talking about and what I have talked about are not conspiracy. How can it be conspiracy when I literally lived it? So, yeah, no, I'm not live, but I'm making a video. Oh, well, give me a minute. I won't be long. As I spoke of earlier, education, especially higher education, contributed to the development of my mental filter. Religion, and I was in the religion what they call Baptist or Christian Baptist, you know. Plus I visited other and studied other religious sectors, contributed to my mental filter and my understanding. Then here comes astrology that talks about the powers and the principalities that govern this reality, and including us while in the physical, has all helped to shape my filter, mental filter. And then there is tarot that helped me to organize and refine my thoughts, helped me to reflect, helped me to meditate. Why? Because it really talks about the structure. It talks about humans' psyche and possibility and our needs and wants and how we interact and exchange and all the various variable possibilities that exist. All of these things have contributed to my mental filter, how I see the world, how I see myself, how I process everything. I'm bringing all this up because I just want to talk about this American Horror Story. Interesting. And the experiences that I foresee the world having. It's not limited to America. However, this series, once again, American Horror Story, shows the story. It literally does. Oh, and I forgot to say, and this is interesting. I found this so interesting. I'm going to say two things. First and foremost, I already shared that I had been watching American Horror Story. It was interesting to me. But I know I had already binged watched the whole season. And then I saw it pop up again on Netflix. I said, and when I said it looked like it's saying I haven't finished watching it. But I know I have. So I went on and I found out it was the part that I didn't watch, the season 7. Maybe it's just been recently added, just that season. So I'm going to let that go. However, season 7 of American Horror Story, subtitle is Cult, C-U-L-T. I found that to be so interesting because lately, when I've been studying astrology, that has been a theme that has continued to come up over and over and over again. Now, I've been a bit overwhelmed with the information that I've been receiving. A lot of it seems to be repetitive and very focused on particular subject matters or themes. So I really haven't been breaking it down. But cult, C-U-L-T, has been a major theme relative to whether it's a small social group, you know, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, people from your neighborhood or community, people in your immediate proximity, as well as the 11th house of Aquarius, which represents the large social networks and or groups or organizations such as special interest groups. what am I talking about? I'm talking about how American Horror Story subtitle is called. I do believe that season 7 was just added to the American Horror Story collection, because I already binge watched it, so it's new. The American Horror Story season 7 with the subtitle Cult starts with the election night. That's the first episode number 1. And so what I'm attempting to say is that it is about cults. They picked up on it. The writers, whomever they are, understand that this energy this astrological energy we are currently up under in this world has to do with cults. It has to do with groups. It has to do with organizations. It has to do with special interest groups, friends, various social institutions and organizations. Hold on to that, because I want to re-quote the little quote. Art is an interpretation or an imitation of life. I think that's the traditional breakdown of what art is. I want to go into talking about the various themes and subject matters that were covered in season 7 of American Horror Story underneath the subtitle of Cults. These subject matters or themes, experiences that I'll be talking about right now, many look at people that use these types of terminology as liars or mentally ill or conspiracy theorists, those kind of things. But as I mentioned personally, I've lived this thing. So how can it be a conspiracy? And so because of my experiences, I know what I lived. And I can't doubt what I've experienced with my 5 physical senses. I just can't. And my emotions, you know. That when another shares these type of things with me, although something, it's strange. You don't expect this. We weren't raised to believe these nutty things. Of course, the first initial response I have is to doubt them. They're crazy. They're delusional. They're conspiracy theorists. They're looking for fame. But then I immediately go to my personal experiences. And I says, harness that judgment. Harness your ego and listen to their story. Why? Because Nancy, you know what you experience. So make sure that you give another the benefit of the doubt. Nancy, even if you don't make your decisions based on what another shares, give them the benefit of the doubt. Because what we are experiencing consists of many pieces that are scattered amongst the people, scattered across this whole globe. And until the story, everybody gets to tell their story, YouTube, various social medias like this, we'll never know the truth. Before I read these various issues or challenges that were covered in American Horror Story Season 7, I want to say this right now, and it's about integrity. I have once again, yes, I've been procrastinating. Why? Because I've been overwhelmed with the amount of information that I've been receiving. But another subject matter or issue that I have seen through my astrological readings or astrological interpretations or astrological studies is the theme of integrity. I multiple times have tried to cover it, but I cover it from a very emotional place. And right now I think I can do it without being emotionally attached to my statements. Integrity is very important. And I'm going to just try to put this little note here, because I don't think I'm going to come back and get it. Because whenever I try to write something down about it, I just get tired. I can't. It's overwhelming. But integrity is important. relative to a person sharing their experiences or what they learned or the information that they have. So much overlaps. Oh, I know y'all know this, but many of you are probably afraid to really acknowledge what you know and what you've experienced. Anywho, integrity is important because it's no way that any individual, not even myself, can study all aspects of this world nor experience. So only thing that an individual can do, namely myself in this case, is share what I know and to tell you the truth and to be as accurate and effective and proficient as possible and articulate it in a way that I hope that you understand, so that you can do what? Share in the information that I have obtained in the course of my life, the piece of puzzle I hold, to why we exist, to our potential as human beings, where we are headed, where we come from, and why we are here. Yes, the answers do exist. But it seems, centuries, we're not capable or willing to accept the information that we're receiving. Why am I making this video? Well, it's for anybody that is really, how can I say it, desensitized to the truth, to the reality of our existence and our potential, and and why are they desensitized? Through experiences, through being told they're wrong, through being told they're conspiracy theorists, through being told they're crazy, whatever the case may be. I'm here to say, hey, I know me, I believe in me, I trust me, I know what I experienced with my 5 senses, my physical body, my emotions. I did this. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is real. Even if that which is real is written in something like American Horror Story and it's presented to you. Art is an imitation of life. Art is an interpretation of life. Here on my YouTube channel, I also often talk about how I didn't have the labels to go with a lot of the crazy experiences I was having. But when YouTube came, I started getting more and more labels, and now I can speak about it. Art, as an imitation or an interpretation of life, is a label. It is a label for the experiences that some of us can't speak about. Whether we can't speak about it because we have a hard time articulating, or we can't speak about it because, number one, it just be so insane. How can you do it? You might have to draw it out. I'm a person that likes to draw out my thoughts as well in order to be able to see it, to do two-dimensionally, get real gifted, draw it out, make it look three-dimensional. Those kind of things. Art is an imitation of life. So what am I saying? Is that if you had experiences, and I know you have, I have no doubt, that you know the truth about something, but you haven't been able to speak about it or share it freely. Why? Because you were judged, or you didn't have the labels, or you didn't know how to interpret it. Well, what am I saying? There are various means that you can use to present your presentation, your perspective of life. You're not crazy. This is not a conspiracy. How could it be if you lived it? Now, back to American Horror Story, Season 7, which was awesome. Shows that the writers, and I'm sure it were many writers collaborating to create a whole season, they know something. They experienced something. And they used the medium of, entertainment. Michael, I'm making a video, and you're disrupting me.
And you're disrupting her.
And I'm thirsty.
And she's thirsty.
Okay, What? Don't make me get off this video. I'm thirsty. So, the themes that were covered in season 7 of American Horror Story, they covered Satanism. Remember, American Horror Story subtitle was Cult, C-U-L-T. They covered Satanism, one thing. And why do I bring that up? Let me try to make it clear off rip. Because Satanism is a popular subject matter. Now, it's a popular activity or a group or a cult. It's on the rise. It was underground at one time, but now it's common knowledge. I share here on YouTube, I live in Detroit. And I guess it was about 3-4 years ago, they bought a statue of the Baphomet and set it up straight down the street from me. Satanism is on the rise. No, it ain't on the rise. It's coming out of the dark. Religion pushed Satanism down. What? I can't. What do you want? What? Talk to Lily about it. No. Are you playing with me? Yeah, no. I'm going to set it off here on this video. They going to see me put you in a headlock and punch you in the middle of your forehead. What do you want? Whisper it. Or you just irritating me? Yeah. See? That's what I get. I live this. I'm going to punch you in the middle of her forehead. So anyway, can I get a refresh drink? I don't have no mom. You got a free card? No. What does it look like? Anywho, Satanism. The next subject matter or theme or activity that they covered in the American Horror Stories. This is out of order, but these are things that I picked up on. They dealt with like, remember I was talking about religion, well, Satanism, and then religion suppressing Satanism for a few decades. Now Satanism is coming out of the dark. People are partaking in its particular practices. And then it's also this thing about Satanism. Then we have religion. How many religions are there? I've covered that on this channel. I can't recall, but I'm going to say there were 4,300 or something like that, various religions around the world. And so Satanism being one of those religious sectors. 4,300, whatever. Scrappy, shut up before I pop you in the middle of your head too. Religious sectors across the world. And then that has this undertone, that sector of, I'm making a video of righteous actions. What do I mean by righteous actions? One can do as their doctrine leads them to do. One can perform whatever actions they want because their religious doctrines or practices seem to be telling them they have the power and authority to do so in the name of whatever they worship. Did baby get a fry? What was it in the box with? See, y'all have to start studying what type of grease. When y'all go buy stuff, y'all have to ask them what kind of grease they cook with, because you understand that she has allergies, and we don't want no extreme experiences here. Here my and so one feels and they showed this, and this is so interesting. Even when the game Dante's Inferno was created, this, of course, was the aspect that was covered. All of these aspects were covered, basically in each. I can't say that. It covers various aspects. But Dante Inferno talks about righteous actions, and all of the knights. It was a segment within the Dante's Inferno, the video game storyline, in which the righteous knights. How are y'all letting all these bugs in here? Y'all got the front door open? Just a sip more.
That drum gone.
What? No, it ain't. I just put it in the bag.
Out of your pipe.
I just put it in the bag when y'all left that stuff all over my couch.
It's gone. Is there any more of that liquor, Chrissy? That liquor gone, man.
Nope, I just put it in the bag. And I made a video, so I'm making a video. So, anywho, since they want to abuse me, so let's move on. Anyway, the Knights, they were religious knights, and they went on campaigns for the religious campaigns, and they slayed a lot of people. And they were pardoned by the religious leaders, you know, saying that they would not be held accountable on a spiritual level for their deeds because they did it in the name of the church. And in Dante's Inferno, those people, upon their death, they were punished for their deeds upon the earth, and they did not understand their wrongdoings. And so it's these righteous actions that were covered in this particular series, and it was to righteous actions for a cause. The cause of what? Whatever group, sector, cult that one belonged to, or special interest group, whatever they belong to. Now, why is this so important? It's because the current astrological energies, not just the current, in this last year, at least in this last year, up until current and pending, have been talking about this various thing. Again, it's about the labels, and God dang it, ain't let something in here. Various labels. Oh, I wish I could see. I can't catch it. The various labels throw us off. But on my channel, I've talked about familiar spirits, who you hang with, the causes you move forward on. You know, having the ability to be involved with somebody else's mess. What kind of works or responsibilities or duties will you do? What will you do or won't do? You know, and so all of that, you know, are the labels that I used. But in Dante's Inferno, y'all done let some of everything in here. Lord have mercy. In Dante's Inferno, as well as American Horror Story, they covered these themes about being having righteous actions for a cause, even to the point of destruction, even personal destruction. And this is important because that also has to do with what we're going through now at this particular point in time in the history of humanity. And yes, this theme has been presented in the stars. As I mentioned, every intricate detail, every intricate experience I've ever had in my life have led me to see the same storyline, the same theme, the same blueprint, the same understanding about why we exist, our potential, about where we're going, you know, and where we've come from. So, other themes that were covered in American Horror Story Season 7 is gang, G-A-N-G, gang stalking. Now, I personally, I just share here on YouTube, I've been gang stalked. And you be like, how can you be possibly gang stalked? That don't even make no damn sense. So, you know, as an individual going through it, it don't make no sense to you. How is it possible? And I've seen here on YouTube others talking about being gang stalked. I can't deny them. I know what I've experienced. And I know the influence and impact it has had upon my life. I know the battles that I fought. If I've lived it, how can it be conspiracy? Gang stalking was also covered in American Horror Story. And I like the way they did it because it showed the intricate details. You all have probably heard me at some point in time talk about how I have heard that we are within 3 or 4 people of knowing anybody in the world. I know them. They know so many people. And through this one person, I know these other people. Or I can have the opportunity to come to know these other people or interact with them or engage with them. Every single person that I know. And for every single person that I know, when I meet somebody that they know, then that opportunity jumps over to the new person I've met and opens up another branch of opportunity for me to meet more people in the world. Through that intimate net, social net of connection, gang stalking arises and is possible. And American Horror Story showed me something last night. How does gang stalking happen? Well, through the intricate network of people, we each are broken up into various cults, C-U-L-T, groups, organizations, whether church or work or religious or social. And those people have something in common. They believe in something. They're willing to fight righteous actions for a cause, whatever that cause may be. That cause, let's not look at it from such either a dark or light side. The cause could be music. They're musicians. They're into rap. They're into beauty, and then how do each of those various departments or branches interact? And plus, we're within 3 to 4 people of knowing anybody in the world. Each of these create various nets, and the energy is able to move through that net, creating what we're talking about right now, gang stalking. The next is dissociative disorder. Dissociative disorder. Now, you can Google dissociative disorder, but the little bit that I do think I know about dissociative disorder is that it's brought on, I would say, by trauma. Trauma is saying like a black person who's being abused, lied on, got the bad black end of the stick, limited or whatever the case may be. That trauma itself can lead a person to not be able to associate with themselves, to be in their body presently at the moment, at the time, because that means they have to be black. That means that they still have to deal with the various injustices or differences that particular culture or I call it race may suffer. So they disassociate from themselves in order to do what? Disassociate from the potential traumas. Now that was just a particular example. Dissociative disorder can occur in anyone. And it can be about anything. You or another may need to disassociate from themselves because they are being sexually offended or physically abused, or they could suffer from some type of psychosis. They got to get about themselves. They can't stay in there. Why? Because it's too emotional, it's too traumatic, it's not making sense, whatever the case may be. Anywho, what did they let in here? What is in here? Y'all. Anywho, this was another subject matter topic that was covered in a series of American Horror Stories. And it's important. Why am I bringing it up? Because these are the various themes, conspiracy themes, very popular, trendy conspiracy themes that are taking place. But a lot of this, I live personally. So how can it be conspiracy theory? And because those people at American Horror Story can tell the same story I'm telling, because those people at American Horror Story, those creators are telling the exact same story as many people in this world. How can it be conspiracy theory? This is real. However, many of us are disassociating from our present state because it's unbelievable. It's insane that the actual blueprint to our existence and what's taking place, who we are and where we're going, our potential, is too much to handle for many. Another thing they talked about was being codependent. And I talked about that in the various videos I made one where I was talking to the spirit of beauty. I talked about becoming older and maybe not being as flexible or youthful or open-minded, and how and I talked about it relative to being 7 women to 1 male, and therefore what happens to the other 6 women, you know, coming codependent and lacking self-love. Why? Because you personally may not be that one. You may be one of the other 6 that don't have a mate, that's getting older, you know, that feel like they might live and become old and by themselves. Guess what? That was a major theme and topic that they covered in American Horror Story. I covered it here on my channel, breaking it down in small pieces. And why did I do it? Because the astrological energy at a given time was saying, hey, look here and talk about this. Because this is a major issue that many people are dealing with. And because they're dealing with this issue, it has to have an emotional impact upon them and their decision-making abilities. The next thing is gaslighting, where a mother sucker trying to make you feel like you're crazy because you got some thoughts or you're sharing something that seems like a conspiracy theory. This is just an example. But the truth of the matter is you're telling the truth, but they don't want to believe you. Possibly they are part of it. Possibly they just don't believe it. They're not seeing it for yourself. So they gaslight you and make you feel crazy. Make you feel like you shouldn't be doing it or that you're not worthy. This was also a theme they covered. You can Google gaslighting because there's a whole lot of videos on here about gaslighting and the effects of narcissistic people, their power that they have over the weak. They covered that in American Horror Stories. All of these things that I'm talking about are conspiracies. Looked at as conspiracy theories. But I've lived the majority of what I'm speaking about. So if I lived it, how can it be conspiracy theory? If you could be honest with yourself, what various things have you lived with? What various concerns personally have you had? That is just too painful to look at. He's like, no way. My mom used to tell me, and I ain't listened to her, you can't talk about everything, Nancy. People think you're crazy. See, many of us may have had a mom like mine. And you, unlike me, may have listened to your mom or your parent and say, you can't talk about certain things because people will think you crazy. You know, it can limit your ability to advance in this world. So just keep it to yourself. Or do what? Write fictional books or movies or something like that, if you have that possibility. Another thing it talked about was manipulation. Mind control is trending as well. Mind control is what it covered, and basically that's manipulation, mental manipulation, which is done through the programming. It's done through sound waves and frequencies in the air. I am a recipient of all these things. I've lived it, and it's had its effects physically and mentally. But somehow, some way, I got a very, very strong spiritual foundation. And that's what has helped me. And it's also about emotional manipulation. I often talk about, when I'm talking about emotional manipulation, remember, let's expand outside of our limited way of thinking. Emotional manipulation can happen, of course, on an intimate level. It can happen on any level. But many times when I talk about emotional manipulation, I speak of it from either a relationship. Michael, I'm making a video. What are you hollering about? Do you have what I asked you for? That's the bite her again, baby. Bite her again. She did not answer or give me what I wanted. Bite her up. I hope she pulled blood. So, I apologize once again. Emotional manipulation. A lot of times when I'm doing readings, I'm talking about a person having control over you. They got you wrapped around their finger, and therefore they're able to emotionally manipulate you switch off on, switch their emotions toward another, off and on at will. You know, emotional manipulation. Suggest that they're going to break the relationship off or withhold something from you unless you do what they want. Emotional manipulation. But then I also talk about emotional manipulation from the position on a more global level, where there are people that are manipulated or forced in or born into poverty, and how that lack of physical, worldly substance and ability to sustain one's physical, worldly existence and experience, the lack or inability to satisfy one's physical five senses affects one not only mentally, it affects them emotionally, can lead to sadness and depression and fears and various things like that. And if it's unresolved, if it's never ending, this continuous threat can lead to spiritual trauma, spiritual trauma. And in between that lack of being unresolved and spiritual trauma is that space where disassociation happens, where you just got to come out of yourself. You can't be grounded in yourself because you can't take it no more. It is a defense mechanism. We've talked about defense mechanisms. And I keep telling you that I'm making a video and you're going to make me angry.
I can't even get it. There is no more.
I said I'm making a video. Well, how I just go put it in the bag and saw it.
Man, that was over an hour ago. We've been gone an hour. When it came back. We just got back.
I think I'm going to have to get up, walk away, and show you live.
They don't go no more. I've been here, that's them.
Did you just cut your... Bye.
Right, bro?
Yeah.
I've been that way.
No.
I got it cut when I cut this. And the first time. I had it cut for at least a
Both.
month. I had it cut at least a month now.
Goodbye. Just close my door. Take that and close my door. Just close my door before I set it off. You know, they don't want me to be nice. This is an Aquarius rambling rant, so I can do whatever I want to do. Y'all at home with me. You're welcome. You're welcome. Other things that the writers covered in season 7 of American Horror Story are fear tactics. Fear. The promotion of fear. We live in a time that many of us are already afraid. Why? Because we don't know who God is. We're afraid of death. We're afraid for our very physical, worldly security. We've covered that. It's been said that our current president is one that promotes fear for the purpose of empowering himself over the others that are they at their wits' end. They have become disassociated from their presence, or they're on the brink of it because they can't handle it no more. They need to feel secure, and so they put it into our leaders' hands, a leader's hands. That's another theme that has been covered in the astrological energies that I've attempted to talk about. I haven't been successful, but I'm going to bring it up here. Just a little side note, that leadership is a major issue and concern. That first house of Aries stepping out in power and forceful, having direction. How we people in humanity must make sure that we have the appropriate leadership in place. It was a time a couple of months ago when I was studying the astrological alignments. It was talking about Aries. It was an interpretation for Aries energy, which is the leader, person in control. And it was saying for the leader, Aries, as to evaluate themselves, to make sure they were doing what? Moving forward in integrity. Another thing that was covered. And I don't even know if I finished my thought back with integrity. Because and it also talks about the people that follow the leader. You can't be a leader if people ain't following you. And it said to the people, make sure that your leader is worthy of their position. Make sure that to understand what doctrine you are following, what beliefs you are allowing to be established within yourself. Because that very mind frame, that mental filter, is going to be what helps you decide what you will do and what you will not do. All of that was covered in American Horror Story Season 7. I suggest that if you have the time, if you can access it, to watch it, binge watch it. Get you some water and some popcorn and enjoy yourself. Another thing it talked about was the chemical poisoning. You know, people talk about, it's trending now, chemtrails. We can see those things up in the sky. I've seen the planes, the chemtrails. I done had the experiences, various things. I've watched vegetation die, grass die overnight. I've seen this. I experienced it. And that's one of the ones I don't really take too deep or to heart. Why? Because it's outside of me. The things that I take more serious was those things that directly happened to me in my physical body existence. However, I know it's real. It talked about, oh, it was funny. We just talked about this, but let me finish. It talked about the cult, C-U-L-T, the group, special interest groups, organizations, and institutions. The cult mindset. What is that saying? Your brain, your mind has been seized by a particular group, organization, special interest group, or cult. And a doctrine, we just talked about it, has been fed and beat into your brain. Or someone charismatically speaks to you, a leader, and reprograms your mind, your mental filter. And how that is only possible for two reasons. One is that you don't have a person, not you, a person, does not have any pre-existing beliefs that they're loyal to and ingrained in their psyche, their mind, and therefore it governs their thoughts and their activities. No, a person is weak-willed and a feeble mind. And we talked about this relative to the IQ. IQ falling very, very low on the IQ scale can be manipulated by the leaders of whatever cult or group or organization. And the second, the only way a cult leader, a group leader, or whatever sector can manipulate and seize control of a person's mind is due to that individual having some unresolved past life traumas. It's interesting. Because the astrological energy just talked about that, I think, back in August. I think that's the month that I made the videos. They were called You're Burning with Passion, or It Burns with Passion. Especially Scorpio. Scorpio's message was about, hey, tend to those past life traumas, because you are burning. We were all burning. We weren't just burning then. We were burning before. We were burning during. We're burning now, and we will continue to burn with certain passions, lack of fulfillment, longing, needing, wanting, until we deal with them. And that is also what was covered in season 7 of American Horror Story. It also goes back to the example I gave relative to me having a discussion with the spirit of beauty. The concept there are 7 at this point in time in the history of humanity. There are 7 women to 1 man. Who gets the man? And who gets to be alone? Who gets to get old and age and, die by themselves? That is a trauma that is being cultivated. That's an example of one trauma that's being cultivated in some people's life. And I bring that up because we're locked in a box. We are not seeing the overall picture. So what did I do? What did the writers of American Horror Story do? What did that video game, Dante's Inferno, and so much more attempt to do? Break it down so you can see it visually, storyline. Break it down in small different pieces so you can see the little parts and pieces to put together that's creating the whole experience that we're having. But still, people have become, and it's becoming generational, that's the next thing, are so disassociated with themselves, with their colors, cultures, and with their races, that they can't even get the message. Just locked up, trying to make it through. Hoping don't nothing bad happen. But I find it interesting that the astrological alignments have been talking about all of these things. Now I can say this, maybe the people that made Dante's Inferno, maybe the American people that made the American Horror Story, they too all were in astrology, and therefore we get the same message. That's a possibility. But it still doesn't tell the whole thing. It can't. Why? Because a lot of what I got came before astrology. What I understand now came before astrology. Astrology just talks about the principalities and powers that are moving this realm. The pistons. Tarot cards talk about the psychologies of art. It's an imitation of life. Tarot is an art form that is an interpretation of life. What part of life? The psyche, the structure. And it's just the basics, mandatory structures necessary for a healthy physical existence. And the potential of what can happen if those things are not addressed and fulfilled successfully. That's what it is. So now I can say this American Horror Story, unless I missed it, did not deal with tarot, but it did deal with the cult mindset. We have to have more open minds and stop having a small mind. Think of the various cults that exist. I know people that have families bigger, active, engaging families that are bigger than even any church congregation. Cult. Then we have the church congregations. Cult. We have the various mystery societies. Cults. Then we have these little offsprings of charismatic speaking individuals. Cults. Hitler created a regime. Cult. Then we have, think about it, the police force is a cult. They are up under a particular doctrine. They've taken a particular oath, and they dress the same, everything. Cult. The medical field. Cult. The judicial system, courts and stuff. Cults. These are all various cults. And I bring that back up to point out the fact, again, that the astrological energy has talked considerably about the various cults that exist and how we frequent particular cults or groups or familiar people. Break it down, tarot. Siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, people from your neighborhood or community, or whoever makes up your very small social circles. Why? Because we get to have the exchange, we get to learn the basics. They're very supportive. These are people that we're willing to support. We move forward on an aim cause. We formulate our thoughts and those ideas and various things like that. We have a lot in common. We frequent them. And then I also talked about the 11th house, which is the larger social network, bigger expanses. We have political cults. We have social cults. Like I brought up the Queen the other day of England. Her whole family is a cult. Then we have the top 1%ers is a cult. You know, people that frequent each other. Billionaires or trillionaires don't hang with old lame Janes and Joes like us. We don't even know who they are. So they are set aside in their own spaces, have their own beliefs, and a part of their beliefs are entitlement. And going into this, I'm gonna let that go. But the cult was interesting to go into. Now that I have the term cult, I might come back and make a video, because the issue that was revealed through the astrological interpretation that was that those cults, remember, we're going through a social mingle. We were reviewing those people in our cults, seeing who we can really work with and who were a hindrance, making sure or looking over our game plan, seeing what resources we had to help us move any given cult or gang or group or institution, any resources that we had readily available to us or other group in order to move them forward on their cause, whatever that cause might be. These have been major themes that have been shown in the astrological energies. And it also talked about how we are. The last thing was like, I didn't cover this. We are like bound, like Cancer in the hermit shell. Not only do we have a shell that defends ourselves, there's also a shell that we wrap around that cult and whatever it represents and the members. You know, those kind of things. And how that shell is solidified around various cults of the world or groups of the world is in place. They are in the shell, the members, the individual, the members, all their resources. They've probably gotten rid of those that are hindrance. And they know what their plan is and they're ready to move forward on it. And it's all in the shell. Meaning the whole thing is a defense. I've talked about the various groups and organizations. They're all limited by that association. So the next thing would be to see who can work with whom outside of that group or organization or cult. That's another thing I want to talk about right now before I say another thing, is that when it came to those groups, those organizations, I mean, you can get a piece of paper, don't put it on me, to figure out all the groups and cults and organizations that exist, is that, how can I say this?
Hey, we did photo shoot.
Oh, there's your cute little bootship girl.
We did photo shoot.
Come and say hi so they can see what y'all been bothering me about.
We did
Why y'all got all this?
shoot. We took a baby photo shoot so we can make her book with it.
You got a baby photo shoot, baby. Say hi, Donnie. It's not buttoned. Don't button it. She gonna take it off.
You gonna take it off?
She gotta get ready to bed.
Say show them. Yep, you gotta get ready to bed.
Show them your shoes and stuff and come on.
Show them your shoes, bitch. See, I got house shoes on, and they look like little dogs. Danny. Give me a kiss. Give Granny a kiss and say bye-bye. Say konnichiwa.
No, say adios.
Say adios. Say konnichiwa.
Jump with them.
Say bye-bye.
Jump with them, Madam Major.
Yes, I'm not gonna be done. I'm gonna talk something one day. Yes, I am. Okay, that's why I keep being disturbed. I did parenting. I'm done. Grandma is nice, but it ain't that damn nice. I can't get no refills. Don't mess with me. Anyway, talking about the social groups, and in the American Horror Story, subtitle called episode season 7, and one of the in the final episode, I think it was 11, it says "Great Again." What was it about? It was about all these various groups, but of course, art is an interpretation of life. So, as they show our existence, they can't cover everybody in the world, so they pick out a little set of group of people to follow. You know how they do it in the movies. And so what we see are these various cults or groups and the various members in the group who will rule. in the course of the series, it showed insane, narcissistic, sociopath leaders. Who's your leader? Are they worthy to be there? And what are they teaching you? You know, what will you do, what you won't do? And then there were more rational leaders. Then there were the various organizations who will hold the power. Think about the Vatican and stuff. Catholic Church, who will hold the power. And so, in the final stages, how can I say this, of the finale, it's about this shifting of the various cults to see who will hold the power in the end. And that's where we are in humanity. I posed this question not too long ago. And since I posed this particular question I'm about to say, I've heard somebody else ask it. How can we bring heaven upon this earth? Is it possible to have heaven upon this earth? Can we all live here? Can humanity live on this little marble harmoniously without war or hate, sickness, or devastation? I was saying, I just don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know if you're I was like, I don't know. That's what seems like what the astrological energies are saying. It seemed like the whole puzzle, the 1,000-piece puzzle thrown up all over the place in my life, from the pieces I found and interpreted and come to understand and put together, it's saying it's up to us. We can ascend or descend, it's up to us. But I was like wondering, like, I don't make any sense. But yesterday, I understood. After I could visually see the various cults moving, who will take power, I got to understand the religious aspect of it. And monotheism, I think, is called one God, one leader, one teaching. The teaching being harmony, peace, activating the various technological advances that can happen in this physical world in order to make life easier to live, but it being for all. One God, one purpose. You know, take as much as you need from moment to moment, but don't hoard. Don't be greedy. And that is the concept. I do believe they made it all religious and it's Jesus and it's God and no. And monotheism talks about one concept, one theory, one focus, and it's to live harmonious. Understanding any advancements that we make in this world should be for all that exists here to partake in if needed. Take only the portion you need at any given time and keep it moving forward. You know, live harmonious. And what was the old quote? It says, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Now, you know, most of us don't want nobody to F us over. So since you know you don't want to be F'd over, don't F nobody else over. So that is the philosophy that will bring about an existence, a heaven-like state in this physical world. But it's our choice. Do we have the capability? Or are we, I gotta say this, I almost missed this part. I brought this up too, I'm tied to, but this was another topic I was emotionally attached to. And it's about our current society, and where we're headed, enhanced by the programming that we watch. You always hear me say, so you think you can dance, you think you can sing, Atlanta Housewives, whatever the case may be. Always selfie, Facebook, Instagram, and big booty shots, whatever. I got a small waist. I had 36, what is it? 36, 26, 36. You know, I got the pecs. I'm doing, what they call it, cosmetic surgery. I'm refining myself. I'm weaving my hair down, cutting it up. You know, standards of beauty. We talked about it. The standards of beauty, and it's about luxury, living that life. All that blings is all that matter. You know, we talked about these things. In American Horror Story, subtitle called episode 7, they covered that too. And what the cult leader was saying, so shit, we got this. We got what? Another subject matter we covered: world domination. Because these younger generations, they're lost. They're lost. They're so narcissistic. They have no level of comprehension. We've talked about all this. Art is an interpretation of life. And he took that cult leader, taught cat shit about the younger generation and their narcissistic, self-focused, and self-centered behavior, lacking understanding, lacking education. I gotta jump. Because each one of these cult leaders, guess what the theme was again? Remember, we talked about it. An IQ. Each of them were borderline geniuses. Yes. They were proficient in something. I don't care what it was. One was a cook, a caterer, owned her own business. Her thing was food. One was a TV anchor, professional, take it to the max. I'm talking about people that were full of passion. And if their passion was only in one particular sector, they rode it until the wheels fell off. You understand? And the cult leader was, of course, a great speaker. And this is the thing, another thing we talked about. I talked about it during one of the eclipses. The energy was talking about, hey, you people in this physical world, you're not feeling safe. You don't feel secure. Why? Because you don't know from day to day if your physical, worldly wants, needs, and desires are going to be met. You feel so vulnerable. Guess what? Yes, they covered that too. They covered the trauma. Remember, we talked about the lack of physical satisfaction and manifestation. We've talked about on this channel how important it is to be emotionally connect and forge bonds with others. And when we can't, and this has been a major issue for Aquarius, I'm an Aquarius, and every Aquarius I about talk to, it's a major issue about creating and sustaining healthy partnerships with others. A person's inability to successfully satisfy the basics, what I call to the human condition, lead to some form of trauma. And that's what was the issue amongst every single person in every single call. Either they were traumatized early on, one way or another, and many of these people started off as really great people, nice people, God-fearing people, but the trauma changed them from within. And the trauma change either made them sadistic, narcissistic, crazy as hell, sociopath, and others were dumbasses. Yeah, dumbasses. Speaking of dumbasses, I'll let you go. And I brought up the IQ because again it was covered there. And the IQ, it was always the most intelligent people's sadistic plans to take over the world. Yes. And what they had to do was build up a foundation, a group, a club, a call, in order to have social outreach, in order to strengthen their platform. Yeah, it was interesting. And all those that were under their platform wanted something, needed something, or were just plain downright dumb as fuck. Interesting. Let's see. Another thing that was covered, which was interesting, is I didn't research this, but I'm sure I understand it. When I was studying, I don't have my books with me, but over there in one of my books, I kept a log of the various generational periods relative to astrology, as well as the generations issue that they were supposed to deal with that they did not. And they covered that as well in season 7 of the American Horror Story. And it was around, I think I was half listening because I was just blown away, but I want to say it was 1968, and it has to do with this artist that's very, very popular, always trending. I think his name is Andy Wardoff or something like that. And oh, and what it was about is the way art imitates life. So the way it was depicted in American Horror Story, whatever episode it was in, is that Andy Wardoff was a masculine, another energy covered in astrology, a masculine energy. What is that? Patriarchal system where women, oh, you just look pretty, you just stand over there, you just model, but you don't have anything. But he had a woman at his side that was an awesome artist, an awesome writer. And she killed him in the movie. I don't know if that's true, but I have heard about this artist. And what it was this feminine. You got to watch it, though. You got to watch American Horror Story, Season 7, Episode 1 through 12, subtitle Cult. Anyway, it was the rise of this feminist movement, as the story interprets life. And so it's a feminine movement. And so I bring that up because I was talking about the generational issues that the various generations were responsible for dealing with, and they did not. I talked about it in my last live stream, and how we are at this point in time, my generation, if you follow me, I said my generation is responsible for the awakening, saying bring that information here. Why is this time period and my generation, or those that are plus or minus 20 years, me, responsible for the awakening? Because, I'm not quite sure, but I do think, I know relative to my culture, that my generation, plus or minus 20 years, just start getting higher education. Therefore, increasing our level of comprehension, our cognitive abilities. In other cultures, women have been denied some of the basic, rights as far as learning. They are just not, in the last, like I said, plus or minus 20 years, in the last 50 years, just have had the opportunity to learn, to study, to see, to travel, to do. First, we had to fight the battle. Then we had to get there. Then we had to settle in. Then we had to start studying. Then we had to digest it. That's what I'm saying. Now we're here. It's been everything. We want to look over. You always hear me fuss about this. I'm going to start really fussing about it on my channel. We want to overlook the real social experiences that we've had. Everything from guerrilla warfare over in Africa somewhere. All these things I heard about coming up. We want to overlook racism. No, we should not perpetuate these things. No, not at all. But we should understand where it comes from. Once we understand where it comes from, we can mother suck and let it go. Let it go. We're being played. And you also often hear me say that we're being played. And if we allow ourselves to continue to be played, that manipulation that is happening to us broadly, globally, is going to affect what we do and how we do it. And ultimately, where we end up being in the future, which seems to be a state of hell, the dissension process. But if we can wake up during the awakening, throwing the information out. We got the information now. We start to throw it out there, and we're constantly trying to learn it. We're throwing it out there. That's why we need people to do what? Be moving forward in integrity, studying from a state of integrity, not a racist or a bias or anything like that. Learn the information, throw it out there. I should be able to trust what you say is true. I should not have to go back and check behind you. You shouldn't have to go behind me and check behind me when I say something. Why? Because you know how I run. I move in integrity. And that's a major issue. Something that I didn't catch them cover. I'm jumping everywhere now. This is a Rant. That they did not cover in this American Horror is the Mandela effect. Things changing from what they were at one time to something else. And I bring that up because I just had this experience and I haven't gone back to check. I've shared past Mandela effects. They were minor, but I'm like, okay. But just the other day, I talked about sound waves. I don't even know what the video was about. And I talked about the emergency alert system. And I was reading on Wikipedia, I haven't gone back yet, that it said that that particular frequency could not be duplicated. It should not be, it's illegal for it to be duplicated like in films and various things like that. When I was reading Wikipedia, it said that someone in some movie replicated that sound in the movie and they were fine. In the video, in that live stream, I said $2 billion. I think it was 2 million. So, correction. But then, check this out. This is something else that's been happening. Since I made that live stream, all of a sudden, on the side of this YouTube thing, it's suggesting all these videos. And I got one. It's called the Emergency Alert Prank. Prank. Okay. Never seen that before. Didn't type it in. But I know I covered that subject matter talking about the emergency alert system, that sound wave, that frequency. And I've been here for a while without smoking a cigarette. So, children, do not smoke. They kill you. They are part of the track. I am not promoting any death. This is horrible. Everything Miss Nancy does is horrible. But I'm like the Oracle. Nasty ashtray, filthy cigarettes, and a sip. I'm the Oracle. So, I've been bringing that up. Rambling Rant. Aquarius Rambling Rant for October 2018. Is that, and that's it, is that integrity. Deliver the message with integrity. There's no way that anyone that listens to your message must go back and check behind you. And if they do, they won't find no fault in you. Why is this important? Well, it's just like the genius. A genius basically spends their whole life studying one particular field of study. Their findings are tested, they're tried and true, and they are category logged, recorded. They always, historically, always had a, what do you call it, apprentice. And that apprentice preceded them, God dang, it's still flying, whatever it is, preceded them, I can't even catch my fly swatter, come on over here, motherfucker, come on, preceded them upon their death, or their retirement. And so, what am I saying? The apprentice, even this Tesla thing bothered me. Now, I know I wasn't as, I'm jumping. I'm going to come back to Tesla. It's Rambling Rant. So, when the apprentice took their seat of power, studying or advancing on whatever field of study they were apprenticing for, they didn't go back and start over at square one. We would never get anywhere. No, they depended upon the integrity of the notes of the person they were being an intern for or apprentice for, and they moved forward from that. The reason they were apprentices so that they could be familiar with the information, the knowledge, the studies of the specialist or the genius. And so what am I saying? I'm saying we are in this place now, as we are awakening, that we are responsible, going back to Aries, first house Aries, and being the leader, to move forward in integrity. One of the challenges that I'm saying, why do we need to move forward in integrity? Because if the next generation of 20-somethings got to go back and check everything we say because we a bunch of liars, they ain't going to never get nowhere. Challenge that we're facing. I just brought up the Mandela effect. Why did I bring up the Mandela effect? It is because it is, and this has, I'm not going to go into technology versus hard copies. Mandela effect. Changing the information that was already presented, supposed to be tried and true, and just changing the whole dynamics. That's why I brought up Tesla, and it disturbs me. No, I wasn't conscious when I was younger, but in no way or fashion, when I reflect, do I remember a Tesla? And I find it so interesting that all of a sudden Tesla name pops up everywhere. It pops up in connection with Elon Musk or whomever the hell that is. You know what I'm saying? And how he was for the people, for humanity. That's what his work's about. But it ends up in the hands of Edison because he was more a capitalist, you know. And so anyway, it just irritates me about the Tesla thing. And that's a whole nother video. Aquarius rambling rant. I'm going to digress off of that. But when I was talking about the Mandela effect and the emergency alert system, after I did that video, after doing my research, I told y'all in that video, I was all over the place. I was covering various areas of fields of study and was overwhelmed. But after the publication of that live stream, talking about the emergency alert system and the statement that it is illegal to reproduce that sound, that frequency, like in films and stuff, and how a particular, I'm still haven't gone back and look at it, used it and was fined $2 million. So I tell you, then shortly after, all of a sudden, suggested here on YouTube, are videos about the emergency alert system prank, P-R-A-N-K, which therefore immediately debunked what I just said, what I just read, and what I just learned. But what I know for sure is I don't never doubt my mother sucking 5 senses. Now, if it get severe, okay, well then I was just wrong, I misthought. But no, nothing like that, because I know me, and I know I attempt to move forward in integrity. And I bring that up because, again, now I got to go back and research and read. Now, I can tell you what I read. But I'm going to go back and see if it's still there. I've even listened to the prank sounds to see if I can pick up variations. But just like with colors, some colors you can't see with the naked eye. Some frequencies you can't hear with the, naked ear. And so that could be the case as well. But that whole thing about the prank showed that would make a person think that I didn't present my information, through research or through integrity, which would cause a person to second guess me or dismiss me. Now that's interesting because I'm also saying here that we have entities in this physical world, and I ain't talking about aliens, could be, but I ain't talking about them. I ain't seen many aliens in my life, and I shared that too. But there are entities, people, beings in this physical realm. I think it's more or less the 1%ers, the people that have the majority of the wealth in this world, that have an interest in dominating this world. I say, and I share that I believe their biggest challenge is to overcome death. Upon overcoming death, they can have this beautiful place. This place can be a paradise for all eternity. And so, it is there. They have an interest. Those people that are interested in dominating the world, because it's a beautiful place, because it's a paradise, because you can satisfy your physical 5 senses and so much more. That's why they want to dominate. Because this world has so many opportunities through what? Technologically advancing. You can do some anything here. And if you have a higher understanding, enhanced comprehension or cognitive abilities, then you know how to move. You know how to transcend between the physical and the spiritual. That gotta be a bad existence, baby. And again, this ain't a conspiracy theory. I've lived these things. Don't let my sin fool you. And I think you have too. You're just not recognizing it because it happens in little spurts and little bouts, and you don't get to fully enjoy it or bask in it or indulge in it. Sometimes it comes in and out and it flickers like a fire, a little blaze going out. It flickers so quick that you're not aware of what you've experienced. But they are, and therefore they have desire to dominate this physical realm for their benefit. And so dominate this realm for the benefit. Oh, and so I was saying they have an interest in making sure, guess what, that the awakening does not happen successfully. Because upon awakening, remember, it's this concept of monotheism label, and it's having a doctrine that is enforced, that takes all into consideration. Just take your portion that you need for the moment, for this time. Whatever technological advances you make that can make life work easier, you give unto anyone that needs it at that time. No more than what they need, you know. And so it goes on and on relative to the label monotheism and what it's really meaning. And so they don't want that to happen. So they must promote confusion. That's another concept of conspiracy theory and theme that was covered in American Horror Story, and then I think I'm going to let you go. And it's about the creating events or circumstances that incite fear or longing or desire, or, you know, basically fear. And then giving a solution. Problem, solution. Problem, solution is the label used here on YouTube. Problem, solution. I have lived these things out, and therefore I know it's not conspiracy theory. We are living in a system where there are problems that are created and the solution is handed. But it's all for the purpose of making sure that the people are self-destructive and or stay in a state of perpetual confusion. Another thing, let me see, I'm gonna let y'all go. This is just an Aquarius rambling rant. Social interest, mass. I ain't gonna say they've been flagged me on YouTube, but I really do ask if you have the time to watch American Horror Story. What is this? Why can't I answer my phone? Did someone just call? Oh, who's calling? I'm fine. Who's calling? Oh, I thought that was you. Hold on. I couldn't answer my phone for some reason. It wouldn't let me answer. Hold on. Leo! Phone. Come and get it. God disrupted me through every video recently. Oh, they threw me off again. I'll let them, I guess. So, yeah. This is a suggested watch for the purpose of seeing the plan that exists, or what do they call it? Create circumstances and situations and give a answer. It is all shown here. It's the same thing I've come up with in the course of my life, not through movies, not through anything, book readings or anything like that. Some book readings as far as higher education, studying of arts, life itself, live life, love, finances, everything as mentioned early on. I guess the last thing is okay, make sure there's nothing over here. So I'm gonna close out this Aquarius rant and talk about one more thing, the 7th house of Libra, which represents the mirror, us being mirrored through others that we are intimately in connection with, that we decide to deal with, that we enter into standing contracts with, and we each party put their terms and conditions on the table relative to why that union or connection exists, whether in business or professional. The mirror. The mirror was also presented in American Horror Story season 7, as one of the cult leaders talked about them being a mirror, a leader. So it also has to do with I would say this, the first 7th house axis, which is the first being the first house of Aries, the leader, and the 7th house, the followers. Who's your leader, and what doctrine are you following and going to perpetuate? And the cult leader said, the group leader said, hey, I am their mirror. When they look at me, they don't see me, they see themselves. Meaning that the representative, whoever your leader is, whoever you listen to, whoever you follow, whoever you allow to teach you a doctrine, is your leader. And you resonate, another term label that's used here quite frequently on YouTube, you resonate with them because they are a reflection of who you are or what you want. Whether you want their power, or like in the series, you're a woman that wants a man and you're attracted to him. I tried to talk about this, but that was covered here as well. And in the case of the cult leader in this series, he said he was a sadistic genius who wanted to dominate the world, and he told each and every one of his followers to blame everyone outside of themselves for everything that went wrong in their life, and to punish each person for leading them or causing them to have a certain experience or to feel another way. And that's another thing I got to talk about, though I'm going to let y'all go. That was talked about or shown in the astrological stars over the last few months that I have failed to successfully communicate to you. But it's about emotions. And I did do something on it. What did I do on it? I can't think now. About emotions. As this cult leader was speaking to a person that was challenging them, and he was saying how the younger generations, the people that follow, they are just naive and foolish and lacking knowledge, low intelligence, all these kind of things. And so all they could see was themselves and him, who was a narcissistic, brilliant, genius leader with these plans and this charisma and these plans. So they saw themselves as him, even though they were foolish. You know, they were naive. They were dim-witted. He said, and all they wanted was to be beautiful. They wanted to feel, just to feel, nothing else. They wanted to feel happy. They wanted to feel love. They wanted to feel content. That's saying that people are afraid to be ugly or unliked or unloved, or all those things are just not acceptable. They're traumatizing and traumatic. And for a person to experience that, they can't function no more. Their brain don't work no more. But when you got, and it was funny because this narcissistic cult leader was nuts as hell. Think about Charlie Manson. Hair all over the place, thing carved in it, you know, all those kind of things. It just look weird, you know. They really radical or whatever, strange. Cut the hair all off, go bar 1 minute, you know, knock teeth out, do whatever they want to do. They never ever seem to be really, some of them anyway, aren't really preoccupied with looks or things like that. Some cult leaders traditionally have been associated with being very abusive, so they're not really caring about charisma. So what he was saying in the series is saying, hey, these people are so psychologically messed up due to whatever trauma, led to the trauma, or they're so longing and so wanting, or they're so unhappy that I can tell them anything and they're going to do it. And I'm going to gather so many followers because they want to be me. And because I accept them. Because I act like I care. They're going to keep on coming. And they're going to support me. And they're going to fund me. And they're going to invest in me. And ultimately, I'm going to be the cult leader that take over the world. I'm going to be the cult leader that dominate this world. That's interesting. And mind you, there were multiple cults, multiple groups, all with that particular mindset. Take over the world. Oh, one more thing. As I speak about the various cult leaders, their mindset, mental filter, was to take over the world, to teach their doctrine broadly and have the people follow it, whatever it may be. But then it was the mindset of the general people and the members of these various cults or groups. Their mindset was about personal fulfillment. Bottom line, across the border. And I bring it up in closing because that was one of the main themes that have continued to run in the astrological alignments since March 6th. It's March 6th. It's March 6th, 2016. Where divinity was saying in the stars, y'all some egotistical, self-centered, lacking intelligence, mother suckers. And they bought that up in American Horror Story subtitle called Season 7. It was amazing. It was amazing. That art does imitate life, and that particular series is presenting the exact same story that I share here on YouTube. It's presenting the exact same story. Your various religious institutions in relationship with your personal life, in relationship with extending your studies, in a relationship or you having to deal with Uncle Sam and the tax, in direct relationship and corresponding, all working together. If you got any legal issues and troubles, everything, you got any medical issues and the insurance and all that stuff, guess what? Telling the exact same story, but it's telling it from the various components of the overall story. Thank you for coming here to Canadians Fly Tarot and allowing me to just ramble and rant, because this is an Aquarius rant. Bye.